What up, fellow geek gals and guys? It's Louie back with another Geek Gourmet with my co-host, right, Boom? The great Boom. Slang shot.
I just came here to enjoy myself.
Yep, talk geek stuff. Be geek lords. That sounds bad.
Please
no.
never say that again. I hate it.
so
I really hated that.
as we all know, the coronavirus has taken away a lot from us and has put things on hold and kind of just pushed everything back, kind of put our lives like on limbo almost, it feels like. But one of good old Miss Rona's most recent victims is our boy Bruce Wayne himself, Robert Pattinson. He recently tested positive for COVID-19. That sucks because of course, anyone getting COVID is bad, right? We don't want that to be happening. So, sidebar, wear your masks, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, please. Be smart, It's scientifically proven. There are articles that state that if you have COVID and you have a mask on, you have over a 90% chance of not spreading it that way.
Especially, please, as someone who's considered vulnerable population, wear your mask.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even for the people who aren't vulnerable, because we're getting people who aren't vulnerable getting sick and, having long life-term issues as a result. But anyway, sidebar over. But yeah, so Robert Pattinson has now tested positive for COVID, and so he is obviously having to take a step away from the project for a little while, I would assume, until he gets treated and gets better. Matt Reeves has said they stopped production, but then they're starting up again, and they're going to film all the scenes that they can film without Robert Pattinson, and then with his stunt double. So I think that's a very interesting way to continue it, because I don't necessarily hate the idea, but I wonder how at risk the other people are. Maybe, I'm assuming they have to get tested, right, every so often. So I guess that also makes sense, but it's also...
little fever checker.
Yeah.
But I mean, how much can they film without Robert?
Without Batman himself.
With literally the protagonist.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting going forward, and just kind of seeing, and I wonder how much the film's going to suffer at that point, because like you made the point of him being the protagonist. Is there going to be some clear things being okay, obviously,
oh, this was shot before he was even in the scene and he was added later? Right,
one of those situations.
This glaring thing, the Superman mustache strap.
Oh my god, don't even bring that up. Today is not even a DC day, and we bring in the fucking Superman CGI'd mouth. Oh, dude, that was bad.
I'm gonna clown Justice League every time I get reminded of it.
Absolutely, no, but so
I'm gonna hammer that home.
So yeah, hopefully there's something like that. The cool thing though is that technology is advancing and continues to advance.
Yeah, so I hope it advances some more. I don't want any more mustaches.
So hopefully we don't get anything noticeable like that, but also hopefully we get a quality movie. But well wishes to Robert Pattinson. I hope he recovers well and he can come back stronger than ever. But moving on to the next thing, and that's going to be Spider-Man has just said that, or Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios have started to plan production for 2021, which is interesting. And I kind of just want to take a second and talk about what it is we might want to see from the movie, because I feel like the third installment of movies tends to be kind of wishy-washy.
They usually fall off. I've never known a third, what's the word for it? Entrance or entry in a series to be better or more unique or outstanding than the previous two.
So here's the thing.
With the exception to Star Wars.
Well,
the original trilogy did that.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that honestly has to be my favorite Star Wars is probably Return of the Jedi, to be quite honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Episode 6.
Yeah, no, I understand. I totally get what you're getting at. Also, though, I think that there has been a few gems in terms of a third installment of a movie. So, for example, Thor Ragnarok.
Shrek 3.
We said two completely different fucking movies, bro. No. Thor Ragnarok. Okay, so there are people who clown Thor Ragnarok for obvious reasons, and I get it. And one day maybe we'll in-depth talk about it. But I will say the third Thor, which is Thor Ragnarok, is probably better than the first two, considering that the second one is straight hot garbage.
Oh my god, I hate that movie. Malekith was wasted.
Yeah, Malekith was wasted. The whole Dark Elf arc, you could say, was wasted, truthfully. And yeah, it's just one of those things, right? Like, that movie was
and I feel like the only way
first.
they can make it up to me is if they run the God Butcher storyline.
And maybe they will, man. I don't know.
If they run that storyline, I can forgive them.
We'll see how it goes.
Because I like Gore better than Malekith.
Right. But we'll see how that goes. That was just one of the better movies. I mean, given the Thor trilogy is not the best trilogy to begin with.
The first two movies aren't that hot. I told you I slept through that first movie, right?
I believe you. No, you didn't tell me that, but I believe that.
No, it's super boring. And
no,
I woke up at
is.
the end.
It is.
Thor's destroying like the Rainbow Bridge. He's fighting Loki. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I missed the entire second act.
No, okay, so anyway, moving on from that. It seems like a lot of third installments of movies kind of fall off, or sometimes they straight up just don't get made. Like The Amazing Spider-Man 3, which I was super excited for.
The Amazing Spider-Man 3, I think, had a lot of potential, but I can see why they didn't end up doing it.
No, I understand, and we'll talk about my obsession with the Amazing Spider-Man series later. But, that just tends to happen. And now it was very like, are we going to get Spider-Man 3? Because Sony didn't want to continue working with Disney, and we had that whole mix match thing happening in the beginning. Was it like a year or two ago after Far From Home dropped? It was very, I guess, worrisome for Spider-Man fans because we didn't know if he was going to stay with Disney and all this stuff. And then finally, after a drunk Tom Holland got to talking with both sides.
God bless that man.
No, yeah, truthfully, I agree with you. After a drunk Tom Holland finally got to talk to them, they were like, all right, let's do it. And so then here we are, we have Spider-Man 3. And so I like what they're doing with Spider-Man so far in terms of storytelling, because, I mean, we have what we've always been promised, right? Is a Peter Parker in his teenage years learning to be Spider-Man, right? And that's what the heart and soul of Spider-Man is, right? And I think they're doing that very well. I can very much feel, and back me up on here, Boom, if you agree, especially in Far From Home, of the feeling of liking a girl, right? And being like, oh my God, like, how am I going to do this? Like, do I even do this? Like, that kind of...
No, yeah, I for sure. And you see kind of the yin to his yang, like in the situations with Ned and that blonde girl.
Oh, absolutely.
Who like sat next to each other and then were like dating the entire time, and then it fell off by the end of the runtime.
Yeah, which is
like, we're just not dating anymore.
Like, just normal. Like, what the hell's going on? And that's really reminiscent to our field lessons back in the day.
No, that's what would happen.
No,
People would be together for 2-3 days. Nope, not doing it anymore.
For the audience, Boom and I went to the same high school and middle school for that matter, and we would go on these field lessons where we go visit colleges with our school, and obviously our whole class would go, and the whole time some unlikely couple would like start formulating a bond and like hold hands, which is crazy in like middle school and high school and shit. Woo! And then on the way back, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're no longer a thing. And it was just so like funny.
And there were some times where I'd find out about people being together for the trip and then stopping right at the end of the trip after we've gotten back.
Right.
The whole rundown. I'm like, when did that happen?
The thing is, though, I was always like around the drama. I always got told the drama. I was always like knowing everything, so I always knew what the hell was going on. But anyways, my point is, Far From Home, you definitely get that feel of liking a girl, figuring out how to go about it, but then like, it's just being a teenager, right? And I think that they do that very well. I think Tom Holland does it very well. And I'm hoping that for Spider-Man 3, we continue the path of him trying to figure out who he's trying to be, and maybe getting past the whole I'm gonna have to be the new Tony Stark thing, and maybe embracing that as in terms of character development, and embracing the fact that, hey, I gotta step up and I have to be more than what I once was, which is a huge burden to put on.
And he actually has to be even more than that, because at the end of Homecoming, there's basically like a target on his back.
Far From Home, you mean?
Yeah, Far From Home. All these home names. This next one's gonna be called Homesick. Put $50 down on that.
Homesick. Yeah, no.
And I'll say why I say that in a little bit, but go ahead, continue.
No, yeah. And I hope that he's able to. I hope that they concentrate on his character development, because I feel like there has been little seeds planted as stories go on, right? To where we first saw him in Civil War, he's just this excited kid, to now where we're at in Endgame, at the end of Endgame, where obviously, spoiler alert, Iron Man dies, and then we have him in Far From Home, where he's now experiencing a different, I guess, world.
He's experiencing loss.
Yeah.
And having to suddenly be, I get, maybe not thrown into that spotlight where Tony was. He feels like he's carrying it because he was his protege. And especially after him inheriting Friday.
No, yeah, I know. And that was a big thing, right? Like having that kind of responsibility at your fingertips. But I think that here's the thing. And I keep fucking saying that. Here's the thing. I understand that there are other heroes involved. So, I mean, obviously you got Falcon, who's probably going to be the next Captain America. We got the Winter Soldier. Like, we got all these other characters we're going to get She-Hulk whenever that happens, who are all within their abilities to become, I guess, in a sense, their respective, like, mentors.
We were this close to having Ghost Rider. This close. And they keep shafting me.
No.
Why do they start, hey, we're gonna do Ghost Rider,
and then not do it?
And then not do it, especially after they did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the show wasn't gonna follow it up, right? It was gonna be its own thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It was gonna be its own independent canon, or it was gonna be attached to the movies, because after a while, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just stopped caring what the movies are doing. But I wanted more Ghost Rider.
No, I understand.
Whether or not it was Johnny or Robbie or even Danny, who we've never seen for that matter.
Ugh, yeah. No. And I understand, because then at that point, oh my god, my phone. At that point, it's like, then you can have another big character come into the scene and kind of help fill that void that we lost with Tony. But I think the thing with Spider-Man specifically is that he has this, in terms of popularity with people, he has the popularity. And to be completely honest, if we're following the comics, Spider-Man is probably the strongest character at this point, the hero, or one of the strongest at the very least. Genius level intellect, like, we can go on and talk about it, but kind of be like, this is why he has to do it. But I just hope that, all I'm trying to say is that I hope that they continue with his storyline, and I hope that they continue with Peter's character development.
The thing is, with that, is I don't think Sony's gonna be in anymore, because this is supposed to be the last one.
We'll see.
And then they're supposed to take, I think it's supposed to be that specific Peter back to Sony's Spider-Verse and have him do stuff there.
Oh, we'll see.
And how they end up writing that, man, I really want to know how they're gonna end up making that work if that's the case.
Well, it's going to be an interesting road, and we'll definitely talk about it here on the podcast. But for now, let's just pray to God that Kraven, who's rumored to be the villain, those are the rumors at the very least. We haven't gotten an official statement, have we, about Kraven being the villain?
We have heard nothing about this movie.
Great. So yeah, Kraven being the villain is one of the rumors that have been going around, and it'll be very interesting to see Kraven, because we've never seen Kraven on the big screen, and truthfully,
no,
I think he's a really good Spider-Man foe.
We've only seen him animated, and not even that often. The last time I remember like watching him be animated was like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. Spider-Man.
Yeah, no,
Spider-Man.
sure.
Yeah,
definitely,
that one.
Definitely.
And that's the last time I remember. He might have come up in some of the newer ones, but I haven't watched because I got older and fell off like the Disney Channel stuff.
The Disney XD, yeah.
Yeah, Disney XD, all of that sort of thing.
I enjoyed Ultimate Spider-Man, I won't lie, but yeah, I understand.
I watched some of Ultimate Spider-Man. I enjoyed that. Kraven, I agree, is definitely one of the strongest villains, and not like power, but like as a character.
Oh, story-wise, for sure.
That is in kind of that tool belt that Sony's working with as far as Spider-Man villains, because they're gonna end up using Spider-Man villains because those are the guys that they paid for.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for this next one, and I'm just gonna refer to it as Homesick because it's gonna be weird saying Spider-Man 3 because we already have Spider-Man 3.
Oh God.
For Homesick, I want it to be the Kraven's Last Hunt storyline, where Kraven finds out his identity that gets revealed at the end of Far From Home.
Right.
He hunts him down, thinks that he's killed him. Have the second act of the movie be where it goes in the Last Hunt comic, where he thinks he can do a better job than Spider-Man at protecting like people in general, but like mostly New York, by cleaning up crime, by brutalizing people, you know, like the vigilante, the Punisher route. And then Spider-Man make a return from what Kraven thinks is the dead to then overcome him and show him that, no, you got the jump on me, but I'm going to clap you.
Here's the thing, and I want to say this so that we can give the audience a good analogy, because we've been talking a lot about DC, so I'm assuming we have a lot of DC people who might be listening and watching. I would say Kraven is the same to what Bane is to Batman in terms of reality hitting you in the face. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of that same story arc from The Dark Knight Rises.
And so I want to actually build on what you've been talking about.
I'm going to be Gotham's liberator. I'm going to blow up the stadium.
Right. Well, I want to build on what you were saying, Boom, about the Last Hunt storyline, and say that if they were to do that in quote unquote Homesick, you could. It would be a very interesting story, because that would allow a lot of room for Peter as Spider-Man and as just plain Peter to become like better than he once was, which is something we were talking about before, because now he's facing the reality of, I'm gonna have people like this to battle. I'm gonna have people like
I have
this.
A target on my back, and I'm gonna have to live with that.
Well, it's even more than that. It's
because then that affects his relationship with MJ that he just started.
Exactly, and so going on to that, it's like then he sees Kraven brutalizing and murdering individuals, criminals or not, which is something that I feel like we have yet to see, because in Homecoming we had Vulture, right, played by the amazing Michael Keaton. Yep. Not really straight up murdering people, right? Like he was kind of just trying to. He wasn't doing great.
He was doing bad things. Well, he did kill one of his own guys. I remember that for sure.
Well, no, definitely. But like in terms of a Punisher, like.
Oh no, he wasn't a straight up vigilante.
No.
His business was selling the alien tech,
and he killed sparingly, is what it seemed like. Like that wasn't his go-to thing. Is all I'm trying.
It seemed like a waste to him.
And then we had in Far From Home, we had Mysterio, which I think they did a great job on portraying him.
I loved Mysterio in Far From Home.
No, absolutely.
I loved it. I'm not sure that they could have done it better.
I agree. And I think it worked for that world. But anyways, and then we have, I think it's time to get some reality in here, being that people
really grounded and stuff.
Ground this storyline, make it all about the fucking drama, dude. I'm all about make it all about the drama, because that's what I want it to be. That's what makes the character grow, and that's why we have storylines like the night Gwen Stacy died, for example. I'm gonna bring this up.
Yeah.
Gwen Stacy, the love of his life at this point, but despite the shit that she did before leading up to this moment, is the love of his life, and she fucking dies. Like, she straight up gets thrown off of a bridge by the Hobgoblin and fucking dies. And it's like, and that is arguably, if we're talking about, I'm gonna go a little bit of a comic historian route right now with this, with my point, but that is literally what made us enter the Silver Age of comics. The more brutal, the more like,
that's correct, it was
story, like bloody comics in general.
We started getting the Deadpools, the Cables, the Punishers.
No, absolutely, because of that jumping off point. Because
Red Hoods.
we finally saw something happen to where it wasn't like, I'm Spider-Man and I'm going to web sling. No, it was like,
it was definitely like a cultural event, and we didn't have anything like that.
My girlfriend just fucking died.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And
like
and all of a sudden
Superman.
Yeah, no, and that was something else I was trying not to bring up, but you brought it up.
What do you want me to do?
No, you're absolutely right. But Spider-Man, The Night Gwen Stacy Died is what literally launched us into the Silver Age of comics, and it would only be fair to launch Marvel into this grounded, bloody new section of movies with Spider-Man again. Like, it would only feel right for, because I like to consider myself something of a comic historian. Obviously, I don't have a fucking degree in that, but like, as a person who loves these comics and pays attention to a lot of these things, it would make me very happy to see the parallels, is all I'm trying to throw out there. And it would really show that the teams working on Spider-Man, the teams that are working on the Marvel movies, will have done the research and realize that these things, and dude, I don't know how to say it. It would be very important to me if I were to see that. I mean, going back to Fox, you see Deadpool and Cable, seeing them fight together and being together in the same movie almost had me crying, because I was like, holy shit, this is straight off of a comic book. Like, this is straight out of a comic book. Maybe not an original storyline maybe, but it's like they took the core elements from the comic of that dynamic duo and made it work, because they took, like I said, the elements, and it just blossomed into something beautiful. And I hope that's what happens with the next Spider-Man movie. I'm so excited to keep hearing about this, talking about this. But yeah, hopefully Spider-Man 3 is a good one, man. I hope we go to less of a rated T, route, to a little closer to like R. I don't think we'll go to R, but a little on the grittier side. Kind of towing the line there. I hope.
No, I mean, I think that, I guess, as far as the tone, I would want it to be in the ballpark of Spider-Man 2 and 3, the original Sam Raimi,
right,
and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Ballparking it, I agree.
Yeah, ballparking like that tone.
I agree.
A lot more grounded and serious. A lot of the Peter kind of second guessing his abilities, trying to juggle everything at once, and making sure none of the plates that he's spinning hits the floor and crashes and smashes apart into a billion pieces.
Yeah, man.
Because if we get the Last Hunt storyline, he's going to realize that he can't protect MJ, and he's going to have to make a decision.
Fuck. Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. Well, we'll keep it locked here at Geek Gourmet, and we'll talk about it as news comes out. But this is just a conversation I kind of wanted to start, and then, like I said, as time goes on, we'll talk about it some more. But the next thing on the agenda, and we've talked about this last podcast, is The Mandalorian is going to be coming out October 30th, and as I mentioned before, we will be talking about it as each episode comes out. We'll have a segment each week, be like, hey, this is what happened, what do you think about it? But moving on, they released some images from season 2 starting off, and I'll put them up on the screen if you're watching it on YouTube. And I've been like kind of analyzing this a little bit, and truthfully, it doesn't reveal a whole lot, right?
Pretty much nothing other than the gang is back together.
That's honestly like I'm as we're talking, I'm like scrolling through this.
Because I don't remember Mandalorian season 1 ending where they were all together. I thought it was going to be Mando and the child going off to do their own thing, leaving Kara with Carl Weathers' character.
Right.
Whose name is eluding me at the moment. And I thought they were going to do their own thing, but it looks like for at least a little bit they'll be back together.
Or maybe towards the end, maybe there's going to be like a big fight or something.
Towards like the end of the season.
Yeah.
I guess.
We'll see.
But I would be surprised if they end up being another, not central focus, but a major component of the season.
Yeah, I think something that The Mandalorian has done well, and I kind of hope they keep this aspect of it, is they have, of course, Mando and the child are like pivotal parts of the movie, and I would say they're the protagonist, obviously, but I like that each episode you had a different character, you had a different like little storyline within each episode.
I absolutely loved it because it made it feel like a living, breathing universe.
Yeah, it felt like a big world, a vast, which I mean it is. I mean it's a galaxy far away, where you can go to different planets and solar systems and stuff like that. I hope they keep that aspect. I hope that. Will I love an episode with the gang back together? Absolutely. I would enjoy it. I think it'd be a nice nod to the previous season. Is it necessary? Probably not. Because I that's the biggest thing I fear, right? Is them not keeping that aspect of what made the first season so great. Although, I will say this. I will applaud them for trying something different. Obviously, we're just theorizing right now, but if they are going to go a different angle, I'm obviously going to watch it first and then draw my conclusions. But I do hope that we get a lot of new cool characters, a lot of interesting little one-off storylines within each episode that call for some amazing moments. And I'm thoroughly really excited to dive back into some Star Wars because Lord knows that
we haven't had some good Star Wars in a long time.
We've had some,
and I say a long time, but it's been like a year. We've had a long strip, very long strip of mid and bad Star Wars.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll keep talking about the most recent movie for a while. So maybe next time, once we get close to The Mandalorian, we'll have a Star Wars podcast and just talk specifically about it. As always, remember to have fun, be safe, and to keep those bellies full. Stay tuned for next week on Geek Gourmet when we talk about all things geeky.